This is Stacking the Box with NFL insider Matt Verderame and Mark Carman. Verderame, let's start with the rookie quarterbacks today. By the way, how are you? I missed you last week. A little vacation time for me. Up in the Northern Woods family camp without a family, going solo, riding with families. Me and my buddy Brian Adler staying in a cabin by ourselves. He has the sleep apnea. I've never heard a man snore like that, but I battled through and had a great time.
Sounds like a tough week.
Have you ever water skied?
No, I have not. I've skied plenty, but never water skied.
Okay. Water skiing is a skill. You got to get in. First of all, I was called a landlubber as a kid. And so me in the water, I mean, I can swim, but I'm not a swimmer. Let's make the distinction here. So you got to get in the water, right? You got the life jacket on, but then you got to get the skis on in the water. You got to point the skis towards the sky. Then you got to get the rope, and then that boat starts. You got to give the thumbs up, and you're terrified, and either you get up or you don't. And for me, I got up, but I went right down 3 times. And finally, the 4th time I got up and I'm cruising, and I'm like, you did it, Carm. I'm so proud of you, Carm. Way to go, Carm. You can let go now, Carm. Okay, fine. I'm letting go. And that was it. But my body ached for a good 24 hours because you're being pulled by a boat. Like it rips apart your hamstring, your arm, your shoulders, the whole thing. But I want you to know that for the Stacking the Box podcast, I got up and I screamed Justin Fields.
I'm glad you were able to do that. I was on vacation last week in San Francisco, and my body did not ache for 24 hours. However, while my wife and I enjoyed it immensely, had a great time, got to see all the sights, got around, got to really kind of know the city. We stayed in the Mission District in an Airbnb. It was a good time. But there's, it's California, so half the state is dealing with wildfires, and because it's just what happens. And I tell you what, man, like you don't smell the smokiness necessarily, but it's just in the air. Like the air quality is not great. It gives you some massive headaches. Like really, like by the end of the night, you're like, wow, my head is pounding. Like it's just, and that only happened for 2 of the days, but you feel it. Like we went up to Sonoma, which is closer to the wildfires, and you really felt it that day. It's just ever present, but all in all, a great trip. I mean, we went to, I went to 2 baseball games. Steph went to 1. Went to the Giants game, went to an A's game, went to Alcatraz, went to Sonoma, went to Fisherman's Wharf. It's kind of a tourist trap, whatever. It was cool. Went all over. And I got to give Hunter Armour our shining example on the video team who runs the whole deal. He is, of course, from San Francisco, and he gave a lot of good advice.
All right. Good job, Hunter. And Hunter, congratulations if you're listening to this podcast, which I highly doubt, but if he is, congratulations on your marriage to Cora and their trip down to the Dominican Republic, which if you're following Hunter on Twitter or make that, well, probably both actually, but mainly Instagram, beautiful photos from the old honeymoon. But all right, here we go. Let's look at the quarterback situation. We could start with Justin Fields because Bears fans are booing Andy Dalton coming back on the field in the second quarter of a preseason game because they want Fields to start, and Fields obviously is the future in Chicago, but they are sticking to their word that they gave to Andy Dalton that he will start week 1. And Matt Nagy is saying that performance and wins are going to be the determining factors. And this is where, of course, Nagy is getting it wrong once again, by the way. It shouldn't have to do with his performance and wins. It should have to do with whether or not Justin Fields is ready. But anyway, I think it's fine to sit him. But if he's really ready, then play the dude because that's your future.
I cannot understand why they're not just playing him now. I don't get it. I don't care about Matt Nagy's word. Okay, this is the NFL. Things happen. And you know what? Nagy, who I've always defended, by the way, I've always thought was a better coach than he got credit for. Like, why were you put in this position in the first place? Because you had to just come out and proclaim in June that Andy Dalton was the start. Why? Like, what reason was there for that? This doesn't happen at any other position. Like, can you imagine Matt Nagy coming out and being like, listen, our left guard job is settled. We're going into camp, and we know our starting left guard, like, not if you have a stud left guard, okay, fine, but most teams would do that. There's no reason to cut off competition, and that's what the Bears did. And by the way, I normally kind of side on the, hey, look, bring the rookie along as needed. In this case, the Bears are not scoring a point with Andy Dalton in this offense. They have a horrible offensive line. Andy Dalton is a statue. Like, this is going to end horrendously because he can't get out of the pocket and they can't create a pocket. So if I'm the Bears, I'm saying, look, we're going to do some read option with Fields. We're going to roll him out. We're going to allow him to pick up some cheap first downs with his feet because that is by far the best option for this offense. If they're just going to try to drop back Andy Dalton on 3rd and 8, they might as well just punt. Like, there is no way that's going to work.
Yeah. It's not. I don't know how much they believe that, because I was going to say
they believe it.
Well, then, look, if that's the case, then it almost seems to me like, look, there's some message within the Bears organization. Don't worry about wins that much this year. You, Matt Nagy, you, Ryan Pace, are still safe. Just worry about developing the quarterback. You don't need to rush it along. So it's almost like job preservation to not put him out there at the start, ruin him, and then have everybody pointing the fingers like, you two got to go. But I don't know. Listen, we made the bet that
Fields would not start till October.
Till October, and I thought I was an absolute lock, and I am not a lock.
He's going to start by week 2.
I don't know if it's week 2. I still think I'm going to win. I still think I will win, but it's getting awful close here.
They are going to get absolutely taken behind the woodshed against the Rams. Like, that is on national television because they can't block. The Rams are just going to tee off the entire game. Dalton's going to throw like 35 passes for 170 yards. And everybody in Chicago, including our guy Danny Parkins and all the rest of them, right? Everybody's going to be screaming their heads off. Get Justin Fields on the field. And they're right.
But that's fine. But why do we have to be such a prisoner of the moment here? Like, the dude is you have 5 years with him. Okay? You don't, it's fine. The sooner he gets up to speed and is great, that benefits your franchise. I get it. But making sure that he really has the playbook mastered, and also, by the way, the team has a little bit of gelling in front of him, that's not a bad thing. It really isn't.
Look, I don't want to be hot take guy, okay? Because that guy sucks. So the nuanced answer to this, I think, is I understand why they want to go with Andy Dalton. They probably figure, look, if Andy gets killed behind this line, with due respect to him, whatever, like, it doesn't hurt our long-term viability. And you saw Justin Fields get absolutely clobbered against Buffalo when he didn't slide the protection the way he should have, and he should have known he was hot, and he didn't, and he got taken off his feet, and his helmet went flying. And if you're a coach or a fan, for that matter, for the Bears, you don't want to see that. Like, all that's true. All that is 100% true. My argument for it is, look, he is an NFL quarterback. He's going to get hit, okay? If you watch Jacksonville and New Orleans, which we'll get to here, Trevor Lawrence got the piss beat out of him in that game, and he's going to get clobbered all season. They can't block anybody. He's going to get killed back there. It's not ideal, but that's what you've got right now. And to me, that, like, Justin Fields is the best option to win. Like, everybody loves to always use the Mahomes comparison. The Chiefs didn't play Mahomes because Alex Smith was a very good quarterback at the time. They wasn't Mahomes, but they felt they were coming off of a 12-4 season as a Super Bowl contender. Like, maybe a fringe one, but a contender, like a legit contender. The Bears are not that. Fields gives them their best shot to be competitive and be interesting this year. And I just like, you also have the other side of this too, where Allen Robinson's going to be a free agent after the season. Like, do you want to keep Allen Robinson? Because playing a year with Andy Dalton's not cutting it. Like, I just think there's some point you give him the ball and say, look, Justin, it's your job. It's your ball. It's your responsibility to shift the protection, hopefully with the offensive line helping out here. And let's roll with it. I don't see much upside of let's watch Andy Dalton go out there and just get killed behind this line.
Well, yeah, I get it. And I think we covered the Bears enough here. So let's move to New England, which I think is interesting right now because Cam is in the COVID protocol. Don't know when he's going to be back. And Mac Jones was not a guy that was thought to even be in consideration to start week 1, but now he is. And to me, I find that one like equal to the Bears. You're not doing anything with Cam Newton. Yeah, okay, fine. He's got training camp this year and there's preseason games, or there was preseason games, but now he's got COVID. Like, that's not going to be the answer for you. Why not make Mac Jones, I think, and Belichick is unlike Matt Nagy, he's got an opportunity. I mean, he's saying it differently than what they're saying in Chicago.
Yeah. No, listen, man. First of all, I don't know. Newton is in the protocol, like you mentioned. Judy Batiste over at NFL Network mentioned that because of the way it's all kind of has shaken out, that it lends itself to the fact that he's unvaccinated. If that's the case, and I can't confirm that, but I have no reason to think Judy Batiste is wrong. That is the case. Cam Newton deserves whatever happens with this job. You had COVID last year, man. Or excuse me, he had COVID. He had COVID last year. He missed the Chiefs game, the Monday night game, where the Pats had to take like 2 planes out there. Okay, and Brian Hoyer started. After that game, and once he returned, he was never the same player. And was awful, frankly. 8 touchdowns, 10 picks. Okay. Now you come back. Now, no idea if he has COVID. He might not. It might just be a contact situation. The Pats are claiming it's a miscommunication because he went to an outside appointment. And so, it might just be a situation where maybe he was a close contact or some kind of protocol break. But you know what? If you were vaccinated, you wouldn't have this problem. Like, Now you go into the 3rd preseason game, and all of a sudden Mac Jones is sitting there going, hey, I got a pretty good opportunity, which Bill Belichick, as we're recording this on Tuesday, he said this morning, said, yeah, he does have a pretty big opportunity, doesn't he? Like, can you, it's just such a ridiculously avoidable situation. And now Mac Jones, he might start week 1 against Miami, and he probably wouldn't have if this didn't happen, in my opinion.
He also gets the benefit. They're practicing against the Giants this week, so that ramps it up even just a little bit more, gives him an opportunity to go, face some competition that he wouldn't normally get. We'll see. It's interesting, too, that Zach Wilson once was thought of about 2 weeks ago to be the biggest bust in NFL draft history, and now he's considered a lock for the Hall of Fame. It's probably going to land somewhere in the middle, but the Jet fans have to feel a little bit better about themselves today, right?
Yeah, they do. I wrote about this for the column, Stacking the Box, the column on Monday over at FanSided. And look, every quarterback faces some degree of pressure every year, right? Like, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, maybe if you're Brady at this point, you don't feel any pressure, but everybody else, if you're Mahomes, hey, you got to keep winning. You got to win a title. If you're Derek Carr, you're trying to save your job. If you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you're staving off Trey Lance, right? Like, there's a varying degree. And certainly, for guys like Baker Mayfield, there's monetary incentives or anything else, trying to get the new deal. I look at this situation and say, I don't know if there's any quarterback in the league that's under more pressure than Zach Wilson. You have 2 backup quarterbacks who have never thrown an NFL pass. You have a head coach who's a first-time head coach at any level, and I like Robert Saleh a lot, but he's a defensive-minded head coach. Who's the quarterback who's in the room who's helping Zach Wilson? Who's the guy in the sideline or in practice that's helping Zach Wilson? If Belichick throws a bunch of defenses at him he's never seen and has no idea what to do with, who's on the sideline with the iPad going over it with Zach Wilson? I have look, he's been good in the preseason. That's fine. I feel the same way about Zach Wilson's preseason as I do about every other player in the NFL. It doesn't really matter. I remember when DeShone Kizer was lighting it up in the preseason and people were just out of their minds, and DeShone Kizer was terrible. Now, I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to be terrible. He might be very good. My point is, teams aren't game planning for you. They're not blitzing you very much. Like you're not in both cases. You didn't see any starters. Like this is fine. He's basically playing against college kids. He's going to take a big step up, like everybody is. And I just worry with Wilson, he has no safety net, man. Like if he's not good the first couple of weeks, like let's just say Fields were to start for the Bears, and right off the bat, and he wasn't good. He just didn't play well the first couple of weeks. They could always sit him down, let him learn, bring in. There is none of that happening with the Jets. If Zach Wilson's not good and he's completely overwhelmed early, oh well, because there's nobody else coming.
Right. And the most recent example of what you're saying would be the Dolphins and Tua and Fitzpatrick kind of going back and forth last year.
Yeah.
Which I still, in the case of, I would make the argument that it's almost good for Zach Wilson. If he struggles, let him struggle through the whole year. You drafted him number 2 overall. There's no going back. Run it till it's finished. And if he sucks at the beginning, well, just let him figure it out on the fly. You're not trying to win anything anyway. You're the Jets. The Jacksonville thing is interesting. I'm like I am still maintaining that like Gardner Minshew, this dude is young. And his numbers playing for Jacksonville have been impressive. Put him in the right situation. Like, let's just say he ended up in Tennessee, backing up Tannehill, and Tannehill gets hurt. He could very well step in and be better than Ryan Tannehill. I believe that with Gardner Minshew. However, it's Trevor Lawrence who has a chance to be great. So start Trevor Lawrence. I get it. But I still think people like look at Minshew like he's like Ryan Fitzpatrick. The dude's, third year in the league.
Third year.
And he's done fine.
No. Look, I like Minshew. You and I are on the same page with this. Okay. I like Gardner Minshew a lot. In fact, kid comes in out of Washington State as a 6th round pick. And you say, well, he's only got, he's 7-13. They've sucked. His statistics for his career is completed 63% of his passes, 37 touchdowns, 11 picks. Like
4-1.
He ain't terrible. I mean, I get it. His QBR is around 47, and it's a 1 to 100. He's been on god awful teams, and he's been cycling through coaches. Like I would absolutely consider him as a viable option, because I'll tell you right now, of all the rookie situations, Lawrence's worries me far more than anybody else's. Wilson's I don't love, because I think the Jets have a defensive-minded head coach who, I like Saleh, but you're really relying on that offensive coordinator there. Like, you're really, really hoping that things go okay. And that with no help behind the guy. And Mike LaFleur, who's their offensive coach, hey, man, maybe he's great. He's also 34 years old and, has never, ever, ever been in this position before. A little bit terrifying. So I don't love that situation either. But the Lawrence thing, look, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I hated the Urban Meyer hire when they made it. I've hated it all offseason. I hate it even more now. You watched them last night against the Saints. Bro, he's totally outclassed as a coach. Like, totally. They had no idea what was going on. The offensive scheme is archaic. And Dan Orlovsky, I think that's actually, to be fair, I think it's the exact term that he used on Twitter describing it, and I would wholeheartedly agree. They are setting that kid up to just get pounded all year long behind a bad line with a coach that every time you looked at him last night when ESPN showed him on the sideline, all I kept thinking about, I know it was a popular joke going around on Twitter, and for good reason it was popular. You're looking at Urban Meyer and you're looking at his expression, and you're almost thinking that he's thinking, can I get bought out yet? How long do I have to be here? Because, man, they are going to get pummeled over and over and over with that team.
Yeah, I've seen you taking your runs at Urban on Twitter. It's If you're not following Verderame on Twitter, and I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, you are. But if you're not, Matt Verderame is very entertaining. Good job, by the way, staying away from the politics more and more, which I think is
I do what I can. It's for you.
probably to your benefit. Yes. All right, let's wrap up with San Francisco. I think this is the maybe the most win-win situation because the Niners play well when Garoppolo starts. Garoppolo always gets hurt, so you can just let this organically happen.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not going to make it through the season. So go with Jimmy. Let him roll. And you have with that defense, you have a chance to be a Super Bowl contender this year. I don't love San Francisco, but I certainly, if I was a Niners, I'm not taking chips off the table if I'm them. Garoppolo has to give you the best chance to win at the start, and he's most likely not going to make it through. And then you bring Trey along, and you're golden.
I totally agree. I mean, there's no reason to think that Garoppolo is suddenly going to be able to play every game. Why would you think that? I mean, it typically doesn't happen. They're in a very good spot. I agree, it's the best situation, but also a very interesting one in the sense that I can make an argument the 49ers are the biggest window of what could happen. And I know, look, they have a lot of talent, but at the same point, you are like, well, all right, if they're winning, you're not going to yank Garoppolo, right? Like you're just not. If they're 5-1, you're not going to go, yeah, I think it's time to put Trey Lance in. This is a situation where if things go well, you just wait it out and he plays next year. If things don't go well or Garoppolo gets hurt, then you put him in. But I think of all the rookie quarterbacks, he is the best situation.
It's the most Chief-like to Patrick Mahomes situation that we have, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not identical, but it's
similar. It is a similar situation.
Yeah. We move on to in or out, our last segment on Stacking the Box before we wrap it up with what's going on. I guess that is 2 segments, but I don't even consider the last segment a segment. I consider it a debriefing. But let's start with the Vikings here, Verderame. The Vikings will finish above 500, in or out on Minnesota. We just gave Minnesota some love as a potential underdog sleeper. Are you going over 500, in or out?
Man, I have been really high on the Vikings, like all offseason. I love their offseason. Got Patrick Peterson, Rashad Breeland, shore up that secondary. Dalvin Tomlinson coming in from the Giants. They got Michael Pierce off the COVID opt-out list. Love all that. Like Mike Zimmer. Love their weapons. Offensive line should even be better. Christian Darrisaw, first-round pick, coming in. And then the summer happened. And Kirk Cousins might be in a plexiglass box in the meeting rooms. And the team has so many vaccine situations in terms of trying to get guys vaccinated who aren't already, that they're bringing an epidemiologist. So I'm out on this because I feel like they're going to lose 1 or 2 games based off the fact they're probably going to have a bunch of close contacts who can't play in certain games. I also think, Zimmer, who has just been and I give it to him. I give him credit, man. He has been hammering his own team like over and over and over and over about how irresponsible this is. It does not have the feel of a team that's going to go 11-6. Like maybe I'm wrong because I like the talent. I really do. It just it feels like 8-9 is incoming, and so is an implosion. But I do like the talent, but I'm out on the winning record because it just seems like some bad juju going on there.
Tough schedule.
Very tough.
They got to play at the Chargers. They play at San Francisco. You got the division might be less. I mean, I don't, the Bears look very, very complicated as far as winning football games right now. Same thing with Detroit. What will the Packers be? Let's just even say they drop both games to Green Bay. You still could have a good run in the division. But overall, I guess I'm out as well. You got even tough home games. Cleveland at home. You got to go to Arizona. You got Seattle at home. It's a tough run for Minnesota this year. So I guess I'll be out on this one, even though the North could be a lot of wins for the Vikings to collect, especially if they can even split with Green Bay. You could have 6 wins in the North. But all right, let's go to the AFC North. We'll give us 3 playoff teams again. 3 out of the AFC North, which means that you, yes, are optimistic about the Browns in particular, I guess. And you got to be a Ravens optimist too here, Verderame. What do you think?
I need to get 2. I meant to do the research on this to see, whenever a team or whenever a division puts 3 playoff teams forward one year, do they do it again the next year? And my guess is that it almost never happens. A lot of times it's because in a given year, a division gets a really easy schedule. They get a cross divisional, the slate of games where they play a bad group of teams. And so last year I did look. The AFC North last season drew the NFC East, okay, and what can only be called fortuitous, and the AFC South, also fortuitous, got 3 playoff teams, right? I do not think that's going to happen again this season. They, first of all, are going to be playing the AFC West, which is a good division. I do not think they're going to be beating up on the AFC West. And I don't like Pittsburgh nearly as much as last year. Last year, I was high on Pittsburgh. I remember before the season saying I thought they would win the division. I picked them to win the division. I got a lot of hate from Baltimore. It wasn't worked out. They won the division and then promptly got smoked in the wild card round. I think you're getting Baltimore and Cleveland. I think those are the 2 teams that are going to get in. I think Pittsburgh will be a contender for a playoff spot, and Cincinnati, to me, lags far behind. They're still going to be dead last in that division. An interesting team, maybe, but still last. I'll take 2 getting it.
I'd actually go all the way down to 1.
Really?
I would be selling on the Browns.
You don't think they make the playoffs?
It's a little harsh, but that schedule, as you just named, is tough. And I'm still at best in the middle with Baker. Okay.
So
the tough schedule and an average quarterback, I don't know.
Let's spin it then. So here, we're close this season. We can do this. I mean, we'll have a preview podcast at some point, but for kicks, if you had to right now on the spot, give me your 7 AFC playoff teams. We can get more into the weeds in this in a week or 2, but like off the top of your head, who are the 7 teams you think are making the playoffs? I'll give you mine afterward.
Okay, so I will go Buffalo, Baltimore, Tennessee, Indy, KC, the Chargers, and okay, fine. I'm going 3 out of the West. I'm going to put the Broncos in the playoffs.
Okay. So I have as division winners. I have Buffalo, Kansas City. To me, I'd be shocked if those teams don't win the division. Yeah. And then you get Tennessee. I like Tennessee. And I like Cleveland to win that division. So that's where you and I are really diametrically opposed, I guess. I think Baltimore will make the playoffs, be a top wildcard team. I think the Chargers get in. And I like Miami. I am nervous about Tua. I will say this. The first 6 I mentioned, I feel a lot more confident about. The Chargers scare me too because they're the Chargers, and they're all about having hype trains until September and then going 7-9. But I love Herbert, and I just think if Derwin James is healthy, that's such a boost to that defense. Like, I don't think they're an elite team, but I think they're like a 10-win team, and they'll get in. They'll be a frisky wildcard team. Miami scares me because of Tua. Like you could easily sell me New England could beat them out. Indy scares me with Wentz, but maybe they're better. So I'll go Miami, but I'm nervous about the Dolphins because I'm nervous about Tua.
Sean, mark this one because let's bring this back at the end of the year because I might have just made the worst predictions ever, or I'm going to look like a genius, baby, because I'm sweating, as I just said, at both Indy and Denver.
By the way, Denver is a really good roster. The problem is the quarterbacks are terrible.
Right.
I can't get past it, man. I just can't do it.
And it's a fair not getting past, and it's against how I generally evaluate. If you don't have the QB, I'm gonna downgrade you, rightfully so, like everybody else would do. However, I'm a Vic Fangio guy, baby, and I'm feeling the Broncos right now, and they've looked good in the preseason, which of course means nothing. But let's go Denver. All right, let's keep rolling here. We got two more for you. Washington will win the NFC East with Ryan Fitzpatrick in or out. We know he's going to play well in some games. What do we got? I'll go here. NFC East. I like Washington. I'll be in. Dallas is all messed up with Dak. I'm betting again, and I'll bet against the Giants and the Eagles comfortably. I would bet on Washington.
You know, when I did my preseason picks, where I pick every game like a nutcase, the only division I have any regrets about is I screwed up that division. I have nobody going over 500, which is stupid. Somebody will go over 500, whatever. But I vacillated. I've gone back and forth. Dallas, Washington, are the Giants interesting? Philly, I'm so out on. It's not even funny. But man, the closer we get to the season, if I had to bet my mortgage, I think Washington's going to win that division. They got a damn good defense. They've got some nice weapons offensively. Fitzpatrick, so I'm in, by the way. Fitzpatrick is going to throw them out of like 5 games. He's going to do it. He's going to throw a million picks. He's going to do dumb crap, and they're going to lose the game. However, he's also going to have 5 or 6 games where he throws for 400 yards, and they win because of him, which is he's one of the more, I don't know if bizarre is the right word, but like unique, polarizing backup quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life.
I love him. I'm a huge
I love
fan.
him too. But so for an example, I remember years ago, he was on the Jets. It would have been 2016. And they come to Arrowhead, and they have a winning record. They had just gone 10-6 the year prior. They have Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, the whole thing, right? Fitzpatrick comes in and throws 6 picks, 6 interceptions. It was unbelievable. Like, he could not. It was like a magnet. Every time he dropped back and threw the ball, it just hit some chief in the hands. And then, you're equally likely to get a game with him where he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So I kind of like Washington, even though he scares me.
It's not how many times you fall down in life, Verderame. It's how quickly you get back up. And by the way, happy what it would have been a 43rd birthday for Kobe Bryant, which I'm going to bring into the podcast right now because you're talking about Fitzpatrick throwing interceptions. No one missed more shots in the history of the NBA than Kobe Bryant, but he took them, babe. He took them, and he hit a million of them. So, there's a beauty in I'm just going to go for it again. And I'll have a terrible day. I'll throw 6 picks, and then I'm going to come out next week and throw for 4 touchdown passes and throw for over 400 yards.
That is an interesting point. And yes, happy, unfortunately, posthumous birthday to Kobe. But I'm looking at the numbers right now for Fitzpatrick. Right now, here are 2 seasons back to back. In fact, we just talked about a game in 2016. But here, 2015, Jets go 10-6. They somehow don't make the playoffs, but go 10-6. Fitzpatrick starts every game, throws for 3,900 yards, 31 touchdowns, 15 picks, 7 yards in a 10. Pretty good year. The next year, with the same team, same coaching staff, the whole thing, completes 56.5% of his passes over 11 starts, 14 games total. 2,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, 17 picks. Like, I have no idea what to do with that. And then like after that, he's gone. He goes to Tampa. He's a backup. Then he has that FitzMagic start that everybody I'm sure remembers. He averages 9.6 yards per attempt, which leads the NFL, right? Like, just has a good year, starts half the games, goes to Miami, is just the epitome of a guy, like 13 starts, 3,500 yards, 20 TDs, 13 picks. And then last year, in 7 starts, has 2,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. I have no idea if you could not find a player in the NFL where there's a bigger, wider range of outcomes than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, and Father Time catches up to all, and who knows? It could very quickly catch up to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he could be the worst quarterback in the NFL. And we'll revisit this conversation and say we were crazy. That's on the table too.
By the way, it has to be said, I'm on this Pro Football Reference page, and they always have these nicknames I've never heard for anybody. That apparently these are the nicknames for these players. There's of course FitzMagic. Also, the Amish Rifle.
All right.
Hilarious. Should get more play, but I digress.
Is it just because he looks Amish, or does he actually have any form of
I,
background there?
I'm thinking it's because he looks
Okay,
Amish.
okay. Just making sure. That would be the odds on. All right, let's wrap up here. Joint practices will still be a thing in 10 years, in or out. How did this get in your mindset?
Just a lot of teams have been doing them. It's just standard every year we see them. But we're seeing like more and more out of control fights. I feel like now, it happened every year to some extent, but like the Browns and the Giants had some fisticuffs. The Raiders and Rams just can't stop having fist fights. Um, I just wonder if coaches are going to in 10 years or 5 to 10 years, that they're going to say, you know what, we don't need this crap. Like we don't need to have them. A lot of coaches don't already. I'm out because I think there will still be some, but I think we're going to see fewer and fewer as the years go on.
It'll still be a thing. Will still be a thing. So I'm saying that I'm in. Um, there's too much value, and I think players like it. And I also think coaches, when they see the fights, are like, yeah, okay, don't get hurt, but like, all right, good, our team's alive. I don't think it's actually a huge deterrent. Verem, we did it once again. As we wrap up Stacking the Box with what's going on, you're on the rundown. It says back from vacation and ready to roll, and I put on the rundown, which I rarely write on, going on another vacation and not, as I'm headed off to New York on Monday. You'll be doing an interview with who are you talking to next week?
Matt Ryan, quarterback
Matt
for the
Ryan.
Atlanta Falcons.
Which is going to be
He's joining
sweet.
the pod.
Yeah, Matt Ryan will be joining the pod next week, but I'll be watching. I'll be watching a little my favorite time of the year, baby.
You and I are going to be in New York at the same time because I'm driving out there tomorrow. So I'm going out. My cousin's getting married on Sunday, so I'm heading out for a week. But I'm not taking any vacation time to do it. I'm just driving out, and then I'll work. Then the wedding, then I'll work, and I'll come back next week. So, it is a little bit of a unique trip to New York for me. But after that, I'll tell you right now. After that, I get back. What the hell's today? 24th. Get back. I think the 1st or the 31st. And once I'm back, that's it. I'm not going anywhere. I am hunkered down until the Senior Bowl in February. That's the next time I'm leaving. So that sounds good to me. I've had a lot of fun this summer. I've traveled a lot. I'm not complaining one iota. It's been awesome. I've been to Connecticut, been to New York, I've been to San Francisco, I've been up to Wisconsin. I've been all over the place. So it's been a damn good time. But I am looking forward to kind of just parking the car on September 1st and throwing that baby in the garage. So I'm ready for the season. I know for you, this is your annual pilgrimage. So I'm excited for you. I know you love the U.S. Open. You get a $13 bottle of water, and times are good.
Everything is overpriced, but it's not it's literally not as bad as the Open as it is going to Wrigley Field. So consider that. I think beers are actually cheaper in New York. And I don't really, I bring my water bottle. I'm not. This is no vacation for me. This is serious stuff. I am watching tennis. I'm dialed in.
I'm sure it's very strenuous.
Yeah, I get my morning little breakfast in New York.
I was gonna say, where's your favorite place to go eat in the city?
So my burger place is JG Mellon, which is just straight delicious. It's kind of I go to the one on, I think it's 74th and 3rd. And I mean, I'll get a slice. I'm not good enough to know where the best pizza is. I like Arturo's. Last year, or maybe 2 years ago, because of COVID, wasn't last year, found an amazing Italian place where I forget the name of it, but when you go in, if anybody has been there and is listening to Stacking the Box, so that would be an amazing synergy. But you go in the bathroom, it's just got newspaper clippings from all the way back in the 60s, and and the food is, it's just, I don't know how they do it in New York. The BLT, better in New York. The French toast, better in New York. The bagel, better in New York. The pizza, and I love Chicago style, but the pizza itself, it just tastes better in New York.
Listen, I will say this, and I have to mention this because you bring it up. So I went to a Jewish deli out in San Francisco day in and day out, Weiss Delicatessen over on 24th in the Mission. It's beautiful. And It drives me insane out here that there are not more Jewish delis. Drives me nuts. New York, you can't throw a football more, and not hit one. And out in Chicago, now there's Steingolds, which I want to shout out. They do a great job. But like up here in Rockford, there's no damn deli. It drives me crazy. And even Chicago, other than Steingolds, like there really aren't many. It drives me nuts. I told Steph that when I retire, I'm opening up a deli, and I'm not even Jewish, but I'm Italian. I'm opening up a deli, and it's going to have Italian cookies as well. Like it's going to be like a deli bakery combination. And I'm looking to put everybody out of business in the area that doesn't do that. It drives me nuts. I just want a ham, egg, and cheese, and occasionally, or just a cream cheese on a bagel. That's fine too. And you get people who are like, well, you can go to Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is trash. It has always been trash. It'll always be trash. It drives me insane. I just want a damn bagel, toasted, little cream cheese, maybe even a little chive, easy onion. Like I don't understand why that can't happen out here, and yet it can't. And I will tell you this, I'll sign off with this. When you go to New York, get yourself to a bakery, get yourself a black and white cookie.
I know that's your deal. Nice, fresh, soft, little crisp on the frosting.
They're amazing. They're amazing. I'll tell you right now. I go to New York now. I'm currently on a plan here to lose about 9.5 pounds because I've gained 9.5 pounds throughout the summers. I've eaten my way through every vacation we've been on, and that's fine. I'll lose it in a month. But I will tell you, when I'm in New York, I'm gonna eat fine. I'm gonna eat well. I'm getting a black and white.
Everything about it's just delicious. Love a black and white. Give me an egg salad. Give me a tuna salad. Give me a corned beef.
So
give me a lox sandwich. Give me just a plain bagel. Give me a nice coffee. I love the efficiency of New York too. You come in there. I mean, there is no playing around. I'll go to a standard bodega in New York, which would be straight nasty anywhere else. But in New York, somehow it's delicious. I love that guy behind the counter who's going to make me an egg and cheese. That guy's incredible. So all right. Thank you for listening to Stag in the Box. Thank you for all the reviews, and maybe we'll read some of those next week. Verderame, you're hosting next week with Matt Lombardo. Is that the deal?
Believe that's the case. I'm not sure if Lombardo knows yet, but he's gonna. So
okay,
yeah, I think that is the idea. We will be interviewing Matt Ryan, of course, quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. That'll be exciting, and then we will go from there. But yes, looking forward to the pod, and then you're back after that. I'm back permanently. There's no more missing podcasts from here on out. So. Thank you to everyone who's been listening and following along, subscribing and rating and commenting. You're the best. And I am looking really, really forward to getting the train rolling now. We're kicking it in a high gear, man. A couple weeks.
Let's go. 2021 regular season right around the corner. We'll see you next time. This podcast is brought to you by FanSided. Join our community of over 300 sites from sports to pop culture and everything in between.